Good morning. Sorry for the inconvenience that you have to wait for some time. We will continue till the 1:15. There is no issue. So, and we will continue our topic. Are you? So we yesterday we basically started with the GSP approach. Earlier also, Professor Pachori also covered the topic of EEG, but he took up the different feature extraction techniques. Here, we are basically trying to apply the graph signal processing in the EEG signal, right? So till now, we had the clarity about the. So see what we are doing. We are trying to basically understand the signal. How does the EEG signal look like? What is the when see key thing in any DSP process is basically features. Uh, Features means whatever algorithm you are applying, when you apply that algorithm, then final outcome of that algorithm is the features. Features you use to train your um, machine algorithm. Easy rhythms, we went through it in the basic here time domain features, frequency domain feature, here wavelet entropy, here we covered it. Endless different steps of easy signal, that's also we covered. Application of easy signal, we covered. Alzheimer disease also we covered. Data sets, till this part we have covered the. So I hope see you would have been clarity. See what do you mean by automatic detection of Alzheimer disease using EEG signal algorithm. So now coming to the part, see data sets. See, remember in any type of research, see the data sets plays a very, very crucial role. So uh, whenever you are seeing the data set, you should be very clear that what are the features, what are the key parameters there, what are the assumptions involved. So here also we are using basically the public data set, one data set one. This is the data set by Dr. Dennis Duke, consists of 8-second EEG segments, sampled at 128 Hz and band limited to 1 to 30 Hz, that have been filtered to remove eye motion and blinking artifacts. 8-second EEG signal generates 1024 data points in the sampling frequency 128. Initial data set that was basically collected at the Florida State University using a 19 electrode setup. It included recordings from 4 different groups, A, B, C, and D, under 2 separate resting conditions. Participants, what is the objective what are the what is the profile of the participants? In basically group A and B, the age between 61 and 83 years. As we've already seen that the Alzheimer disease is reflected with the growing age. So with an average age of 72. This is basically healthy control. Another group C and D include 24 subjects with Alzheimer disease, aged between 53 to 85 years, averaging 69 years. Another data set 2. In this, we see Dr. Daniel, again the same person. It consists of EEG signals. So here also, here in A group, a cohort of 12 healthy elderly subjects who maintained visual fixation with their eyes open. In the B part, a cohort of 12 healthy elderly with their eyes closed. The C, a group of 80 probable Alzheimer disease patients visually fixated with their eyes open. And in the D group, a group of 80 probable Alzheimer disease patients with their eyes closed. The EEG recordings were obtained, again the sampling frequency 128 Hz and the duration of 8 seconds per segment. Signals were acquired from 19 scalp electrodes positioned according to the International 1020 system. See, what is this system? If you recall, in the earlier diagram, we see that the points are there. See how the points are there, see how you have to fix it up. The groups A, B, and C, D were easy recorded from the same patients and were recorded with their eyes open and closed. Whenever you are taking up any problem, see, we should be very clear that what is going on in the data set. Because when you interpret the results, it should be in that line. Now see what we are saying here, that classification algorithm, SVM, KNN, XGBoost, it is used. What are the features? The features we are used basically mean, median, maximum, minimum, standard deviation, kurtosis. In input, basically what we are taking highly controlled Alzheimer disease rate of EEG signal. Then we are calculating the features. How we are calculating the feature? Basically, we are using the graph Fourier transform, graph wavelet transform. In the pre-processing, we are handling the missing values and removing the artifacts. Thereafter, we are doing that. So what is doing? It is basically input, pre-processing, feature extraction, then calculating the features, and then from these features, because see, graph Fourier transform, graph wavelet transform, they basically give you a matrix. And many times we convert basically matrix into a vector. One time where either row is one or column is one. So that we can see compare the two features. Once we are able to compare the two features, then we are also able to find out the distance between those features. Another way is to find out the median, because see, when we are calculating the GFT feature, GWT feature, its length may be, for example, 30 by 30. So we will convert into a basically row vector, where 1 multiplied by 900. So that way we do the calculation. So what is happening in the graph Fourier transform? If we have already seen it, that in the graph Fourier transform, what do? We basically, whatever our graph signal is there, say we represent that signal into the form of the frequencies, which are basically represented by the eigenvalues, and their magnitude is visible. That which frequency is present and what is its magnitude in the frequency domain. So now when we come to the particular case, see what we are saying, that we are going from generalization to the specific part. So what we are doing in this case is what weight we are taking. See, in this case, a weight was basically taken wij, where I and j are the nodes, it is the exponential minus distance ij square upon 2 pi square. What we are saying, if there is a edge, if there is an edge between I and j, then we will use in this way. So you have already seen it, that how the points are correlated in the EEG signal. They are basically related when they are when they are related in the exist in the same region. So this type. So once, what is this weight? This is also basically the Gaussian weight also. That's we are saying it is a Gaussian kernel function. Now see what is the use of this weight. See, remember, whenever we are calculating the weight, we want to calculate the frequencies. And what are the frequencies which are present in a signal? So to calculate the frequency, you need to calculate the Laplacian. How do you calculate the Laplacian? Laplacian are basically d minus w. So how do you calculate the d? If you recall again, see, d was basically when you calculate or when you add up all the elements of the row or the columns and you put that sum at a diagonal position. Right? I hope so you would be able to recall. Just going through quick as we discussed yesterday. Is it clear? Are you able to recall or should I show you? Yes. So that is basically that is L equal to d minus w. So I hope so you would have recalled normalized graph Laplacian. There is only a one type of Laplacian. You can also use a normalized graph Laplacian. Here, what is this? I is basically the identity matrix with the dimension of n by n minus d half w d half. So where I my of matrix size n and t is diagonometric, w is weight metric. So graph Fourier transform we are obtaining. In the same way, see, we can find out the graph wavelet transform. See, what is available in the graph wavelet transform? Graph wavelet transform, it is basically the wavelet function. Wavelet is the basis. So here it is designed for the multi-scale analysis, capturing information at different scales in both the vertex and spectral domain. Combining GFT and GWT allows for a more comprehensive analysis of graph signals. GFT is well suited for understanding frequency content, while GWT excels at capturing multi-scale features and localized information. See, a different scale, the features are available and localized information that is available from the wavelet. The graph wavelet operator can be expressed as this one, where k equal to function of HKL, where S the graph wavelet kernel function satisfies the property of band pass filter. The graph wavelet operator form when applied to a given signal that is given basically in this form. TH x of L, H naught lambda, x cap lambda. X, what is basically x cap? X cap is a graph Fourier transform of H. And what is that? H is basically kernel generating function of graph wavelet. What is K? K is basically a scale parameter. So this is the some bit of mathematics. Remember, if you okay, so this is given in this way of x, it is multiplication of these things. Spectral graph wavelets are then realized through localizing these operators by applying them to the impulse on a single vertex. So when we multiply this inverse transform with a delta, we are able to get this spectral graph wavelet. Expanding this explicitly in the graph domain, it can be written into this form. What is the wavelet inner product? That has been seen. The equation labeled as 4 to 8 pertain to the reverse conversion and wavelet coefficients of the graph signals. So after calculating the basically row vector or column vector, then we calculate the statistical features from that vector. Why? So that see we can reduce the size of our feature vector. So that has been shown here that you can let the mean, median, standard deviation, kurtosis, minimum value, maximum value. And remember, there is no limit. Only since they are the bit easily calculated. Many times you also can use the other type of statistical feature like variance, like the even combination of all these features. So this is basically our publication. This paper was published in basically biomedical signal processing and control in 2025 only, where when we use the classifiers SVM, random forest, KNN, XGBoost, and DT. So here what we say that the maximum accuracy available is with the random forest. When we use GWT, see here we use basically GFT as a feature. Here we use GWT in table 2 with different classifiers. So again, if we see here that it is the random forest is again outperforming others. Now with the data set 2, again if we do the calculation, what was the score here accuracy? It is again random forest which was performing better. And on the data set 2, if we use GWT, here it is a good result of the RF. So this is basically the ROC curve. ROC curve. See what does matter in the ROC curve? That what is the area under the curve? What is the area under curve? Better is that graph. See, for example, so what has been shown here. So from where we calculate the area from this middle line, diagonal line, and the related curve. So on data set 2, the performance of GFT and GWT is shown to you. So in this part here, so overall if we summarize this result, so our accuracy is basically 99.48, it is for the data set 1, and 99.22 for the data set 2. And when we compare it with the CNN model, so also we have drawn the CNN model because that is quite popular where all these things started. And if we compare these things with our other existing algorithms, what do we see here? We see here that it is uh, that fairly the features given by this approach are working very well in comparison to the other approaches. Now come to the hardware components. In the hardware, what we do, we basically try to run this on this FPGA processor. When we want to run it, we want to actually measure the actual performance on the limited hardware, that how is it going to work. So that has been initially taught. Neurological disorder based applications of EEG signal. So when we come to the neurological disorder, the main type of disorder which has been discussed in the literature, basically epileptic seizure detection. So here the data description is basically University of Bonn data set. It comprises 5 data sets A, B, C, D, and E. Each data set contains 100 single channel E segments with duration of 23 seconds, totaling 4,097 samples per channel. So for each set, there's a GIF file contain 100 TXT files. Each TXT file consists of these samples. So what has been shown here, so it is giving you fair idea that it is not that simple. If you apply it and in one day you are getting the result. Regarding in data sets, another data set is available, which is the Indian data set. Here, neurology and sleep center, Ojcast is there. That also provides EEG data from 10 subjects, pre, pre-ictal, interictal, and ictal stages. Each folder contains 50 MAT files of EEG time series signal. Each MAT file consists of 1,000 samples of one EEG signal time series. So now coming to the part, after discussing the data set, now coming to the part feature extracted. So in feature extracted, we compare see both wavelet transform and the graph Fourier transform. So what has been shown here? So here it is shown that after decomposition, you can break the low frequency signal into it two components. So one is basically lower in the lower frequency, one is the higher frequency. In the same way, graph Fourier transform, we have read about it. In another way, you can understand it that it is multiplication of the bases. See again, you are the basis of the eigenvectors, which are basis of basically the matrix set. So DWT has been shown here. In DWT, what happens in the wavelet? In wavelet, basically, it is the decomposition at the different stages. So at a level where you are able to get the sufficient information, till then part you go to the further down the line. So here, so it is maybe a one level wavelet, it may be a 3 level, it may be a 5 level. So this is the another thing. See regarding in the wavelet part, if you see this A1, A2, A3, A4 are basically the approximated copies. They are basically the low frequency component. This D1, D2, D3, D4, they are basically the high frequency components. So our in wavelet, so approximation coefficients will give us the actual reality of the picture. Detail coefficients will represent what are the detailed coefficient that They are basically their advantage is to calculate the minute detail or any sharp detail of the detail coefficient, while approximate coefficient basically generate the overall picture. So now coming to the result part, see, whenever you are doing any research, see, it is always good that you may compare it with another method. And on that method, so how do you calculate? See, we have calculated it that when we calculated using the DWT and in the different data set, on the New Delhi data set, one is the University of Bonn data set. So their accuracy is coming 96.62 and it is basically the 92.5. So the finally, if we take up the result, that in the result you are using basically UV data set, GFT, PCA. See, when we use a PCA, see, when we want to further reduce the dimension. So we are using basically the classifiers, logistic regression, XGBoost, SV, and KN. So, so what is basically the accuracy here? Accuracy, if you notice with the GFT is 97.45 and we use the PCA also. Definitely PCA will require the more processing, more cycles. But when we do it, our length is reduced, and not only this length, it is also proved as a benefit in it provides a benefit in reducing the component as well as improving the accuracy. So this is basically result is shown here that accuracy curve or different classifiers in UV data set is shown accuracy curve of different classifiers on UV data set is shown. So in the same way we are containing the result, we have also represented in form of the normal graph as well as the DWT. So this is a result here. This is case trial precision recall. Now see, these are basically a clinical case where clinical problem is there to sort out. So now we'll take up the mental task classification because when you concentrate over upon any topic or in any thought, then definitely the new paradigm in differentiating these tasks will be applicable. Regarding the so we have done the another work that's basically the mental task classification. See how we are doing it. Again, see we are doing it using our EEG algorithm. Any question in this part, if you have share to share. So now coming with the mental task classification, the normal EEG application. What we are doing again, see here the another data set, Ken and UNON data set. Here data was collected from 7 subjects when the individuals engaged in separate mental activities. Subjects performed the 5 trials of each task in one day. Then another day they have returned to the second 5. Each trial is recorded for 10 seconds with a sampling rate of 250 per second, which sampling, so this is basically the sampling rate, and so what will be the result that we are taking 2500 samples points per trial. What is the baseline task? See, when we are for what activity you will attribute the activation. So we are saying that it is the subject when it is asked to sit in a relaxed state and no mental activity is performed, that EEG level is taken as the base. In multiplication tasks, if the subjects were given non-trivial multiplication problems and were asked to solve them without vocalizing or making any other physical movement. Geometric figure rotation. This is the subjects were given 30-second. In geometry figure rotation, they were given 30 seconds to study a drawing of complex three-dimensional block figure. After which the drawing was removed and the subjects were instructed to visualize the object being rotated about an axis. Another is the letter composing. In letter compose, the subjects were asked to mentally compose a letter to a friend. In letter composing, subjects were asked to mentally compose a letter to a friend. In visual counting, the subjects were asked to visualize numbers being written on the blackboard sequentially. There are 5 trials in each activity, and each data trial array has 7 rows and 2500 columns. In the second data set, see, where we are using basically EEG mental arithmetic tasks. Again, see, you would be thinking, see, on what basis we are basically uh, defining the activity. See, again, see, this is basically based upon the spatial region. That, for example, one area is related with the memory, another is related with the calculation. So that area would be activated. So that's why this task has been separated out. So every region would be activated. So easy mental arithmetic task data set 2, and this was collected from 36 subjects, contain artifacts free multi-channel easy recordings. And the baseline task subject did not perform any mental task and were to sit in relaxed position. Serial subtraction task. Mental task involving serial subtraction where subjects were instructed to perform a serial subtraction task including 4-digit, minute and 4-digit uh, subtrahend and communicate the results orally. So in the methodology, it is a fine, it is a EEG signal, which is basically given as the input pre-processing, while the basically remove the artifact, basically do the normalization and the filtering. In the feature extraction, see after calculating the GFT and the GWT, you calculate basically the mean variance kurtosis, energy standard deviation, and after calculating these each value, you can make them as a vector. So it's up to us that what we want to do. So with classifier, we are able, it is able to transfer mental task. One, classify mental task. Two. What is shown here, experimental results using GFTS features. See, here also we are using basically GFT. Earlier we had been using basically the GFT for the classification of patient. Here for the classification of the different. So that we have, so different results are there. It is what we observe here that SVM outperformed other type of classifier. So here when we are using index table 2, what we are saying that GWT is used as a feature. Earlier it was basically GFT was used. So when GWT is used, so that we have got the result and ANN was much better. So this is a different data set. See what we have shown. It is basically the GWT, which is used as features, and data set one. It is GFT, which is basically features to from the EEG-MAT data set two. So there we have calculated. So this paper has been written IEEE Sensor General. These are basically the results that how is the accuracy obtained here. This is mm, classifiers using dataset. So depression detection using EEG signal, right? So first we need to be clear that what do you mean by the depression? Depression in the form which is associated with EEG layers. So alpha rhythms. What were the alpha rhythms? Alpha rhythm was that one. Our almost one is theta activity, which is a deep learning. Another is wakefulness state. That if somebody shouts or you hear some noise, then you will get wake. So alpha rhythms tend to be decreased in individuals with depression, particularly in the frontal region, which is linked to relaxed wakeful state, and their reduction is associated with mood disorder. That is the problem. In, increase theta activity. So theta activity has increased where theta waves are basically 4 to 8 hertz, which show increased activity in the depression, especially in the frontal and central region. These waves are linked to emotional processing and cognitive load, and their increase is often observed during depressive episodes. Altered beta power. Beta power may show abnormal patterns in depression. It may decrease, it may increase depending on the reason. Changing in beta rhythms are often associated with the cognitive dysfunction and anxiety common in the depression. Decreased coherence, there is often a decrease in the EEG coherence, indicating reduced connectivity between different brain regions, particularly in frontal and central area. This suggests impaired communication across brain net. So this is another data set is given here, two groups. Period 34. These patients are there, which is mean age is this one 40 and standard deviation 30 age, matched healthy control, location. What we have taken, it is the parties recruited them from outpatient clinic at this university in Malaysia, ethics approval. It is approved by ethics committee, consent, participants signed consent forms and are aware of the experimental procedure. So based on this has been done out and in the this is regarding the data set. So Again, the methodology has been explained. So here see GFT features have been used to calculate the depression. So here or something else are there. Here it is the results of all bands using various classifier with GNE feature. So this is ROC curve has been shown here, model accuracy, model loss. So this is our result. So with the same data set, we have tried to take on the same data set, and then which features are used, we are mentioning in the table, and then we show whether is there any improvement or whether is there any change in the algorithm which is required. So it is a hardware component. We have told you PYZQ board, we have implemented it so that its real time issues can be checked out. So this is all regard after the mental task. Then doing the public domain, you basically create your own database, and in your own database, you are basically aware of the conditions. What conditions you have incorporated it, and am I able to bring out those conditions with our new feature? So that is all here we concluded. So now, if you have any question. So in the see, if overall, if you summarize the thing, if you notice one thing that it is basically what we have learned in the GSPC. First, we have basically learned to how to represent it, how to represent the structure, how to represent the structure, what is the role of the W, what is the meaning of the frequency. And once we are able to find out the frequencies, then we can represent those frequencies to bring our signal in the frequency domain. So two ways we are doing it. Basically, one is the GFT, one is the GWT. In the GF, so we have extracted out the features after representing our brain signal as a graph signal in the Alzheimer disease as well as the meta task classification. In both the tasks, the results are far promising. So that has been obtained. So if you have questions, please put it in the chat box. Then we will. If no questions, we can have the small break. And what we will come up, we will come up now in the new topic that where basically we will apply our GSP concepts in another application. In another application that is basically of the facial recognition. So we will move to the is like, see, one is image processing, another biomedical. So in the next, in our this next session, we will see the basically the facial recognition. Vaishna is asking, what are the significance of using graph-based feature extraction technique? See, Vaishna, if you would have noticed that when we are representing the graph signal, we are able to know the interrelationship between the different components. Otherwise, see, what do we do? Most of the times, we are not aware that whether is there any interrelationship between the different components of a signal. केवल हमें उस सिग्नल की वैल्यू पता होती है, पर क्या वो सिग्नल आप whether is it correlated? See, for example, some signal has the length of the it is 10-dimensional signal x1, x2, x3, x10. But whether those values have some interdependency, so that thing is totally missed out when we take the only signal value. So here in the graph-based feature, that structure is into taken account. And that's why it has lead to the better accuracy with very, very few epochs. Any other question? So we will actually no question. So try to think about before it. See, I will before starting in our next session, I will take up that base page of the GSP, which everyone should go through, where basic fundamentals are given in the brief, from where the our PPTs have been framed out. So that I've yesterday one of the candidates asked, I will also share you that paper. Okay, so have a break, 10 minutes break. We come at 12:15, sharp 12:15. Thank you. In case of any question, if you feel it at any point of time, see, this is my email ID. Because see, more you will think about the topic, more you will apply it, see, then only you will able to get the confidence.